All right, guys, we are back. I'm here with Mr. Mike Peregrina. He is the co-founder and CFO of Homie. Homie is a tech-enabled brokerage that is becoming vertically integrated and has just expanded out here into Vegas recently. So welcome to the show, Mike.
Oh, thank you, homie. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me. I've heard a lot of great things about the podcast, so I feel very privileged to be here, man. So I really appreciate it.
It's an honor, dude. I love talking with fellow entrepreneurs. I was a little bit of an entrepreneur before this as well. I had a few, mishaps, but it's all a learning experience along the way. And I think we'll find a lot of similarities. But I know that since you've expanded out here, it's almost a little bit of a homecoming. So let's go back and touch on that. And let's go back to, I know before you moved out here. So let's talk about like high school, Mike. How is he?
Oh man, if high school Mike can see me now, he would be surprised because high school Mike was probably fun, but not as responsible as current Mike. So I moved from LA. I grew up in Vegas, so I went to Bonanza High School. Yeah, I played football there. Tried to run track, air quotes, but basically just did it to stay in shape for football. Had a blast. Loved Bonanza High. It was a lot of fun, made a lot of really great friends, people that I still talk to today. And then I went to UNLV to study architecture. Architecture is a huge passion of mine. Even to this day, I just love the built environment. Spent a handful of years there. During that time, I got caught up in the housing crisis, unfortunately. So this is around 2004, 2005. We were buying homes 2 at a time, stated income, no money down, 1 year, 2 year arms. If you've seen the movie The Big Short or read the book,
yes, yes.
Think about that in your mind's eye there. And then it was just unfortunate. I was doing this at the advice, at the counsel, if you will, of these loan officers and real estate agents. Thought we were doing the right thing. Everyone was doing it. No one was getting in trouble. And then 2008 came and went, man. And I lost it all. I lost all the homes that I had. I lost my shelter. I lost, the place that I called home. Went back to my mother's house with basically $200 in my pocket the day before Thanksgiving in 2008. And I was just crushed by it. Woke up one day with this epiphany that it's my responsibility to fix the real estate industry, and just jotted down a bunch of things, put those in the back of my mind. And then kind of picked up the pieces after sort of some dark moments and you're kind of going through that sort of business failure. You learn a lot from it, right? You find out who you are. Las Vegas is going through a very similar time right now. So I empathize with everyone that's kind of been laid off because of the COVID pandemic, and Homie Helps, our corporate giving arm, has been flexed right now. And we're doing a lot of things to help people, whether it's help pay for a mortgage payment or billing or rent. We're all in on Homie, man, and all in on Las Vegas. So yeah, man, that's kind of what happened. And then I went back to college. So went back to UNLV during the recession. That's kind of what people do, right? I said, I got to find a new job. No one's hiring, designers or architects. Construction had completely stalled. We're deep in a recession. So I went back to study finance, started my finance career as an investment banker, did that for 2 years, learned a technical skill set, which was fun. Got bit by love bug, moved to Salt Lake City, Utah, and then worked in venture capital for a couple of years. And then in 2014, the idea for Homie came back to my mind. It took about 6 months or so to kind of learn, do some market research, if you will. I got introduced to 2 fabulous co-founders and great human beings, Mike Triunfo and Johnny Hanna, who had built a real estate software business in Utah, which was wonderful, right? Now the stars are aligning, right? You need a lot of luck when you're an entrepreneur, obviously, work hard and all that good stuff. And then one thing led to another. We started the brokerage. Homie was born. We vertically integrate across all platforms products, so that people have a one-stop shop, whether they're buying or selling a home. And the rest, as they say, is history.
It's funny in the world of entrepreneurship because it's always in the darkest days where that idea usually comes into fruition, but you have to wait, and that you have to build on it down the road and build multiple skills before you get on to whatever you eventually do.
That's right. Yeah, man. I think you learn so much. Grit is, one of the words that come to mind actually over the last 15 years of my professional career. I've come up with 13 C's of entrepreneurship.
Wow.
It's a coincidence that it's an alliteration. But courage is one of them. The creation story is another one. That at why, right? Like, why are we doing this? Why is an entrepreneur risking everything and putting their families, well-being and financial well-being in line? And that's really important, right? That has to be a catalyst. That has to be a mission-driven business. And at Homie, our mission is to make homeownership easy, affordable, and accessible to all. We think that that's, something that's within our responsibility, right? Kind of like this godsend, if you will, to do it.
Yes, software is actually eating the world slowly but surely, And before we get into that, I'm really interested in the VC and the finance world, because a little backstory. Before I did the podcast, I was working on an app called Chameleon. That was like a ticket verification app to fight fraud. And I was always fearful of going to a VC because I've heard stories of people losing control basically of the business, where they come in and they're just like headhunters and you lose out on everything and eventually fold. Ultimately, it was probably the wrong decision, but take me through your experience as going to a VC.
Yeah. That's actually one of my C's. That's, I think, number 12, capital. And you'll need capital, right? To grow a business, build a business, start a business. And there's really 4 ways to capitalize a business: using your own cash, right? Some people have this, some people don't. Loan or debt, right? Somebody lets you borrow money, whether it's an institutional bank or investor or friends, families, and fools, as they say. You raise venture capital, and then the other one is revenue, right? You actually just slowly but surely start producing a product or service and then generate revenue to capitalize the business. One of the things that I often tell entrepreneurs is some businesses are not venture backable, right? And it's just the byproduct, right? So if it's a services business or you have very little technology, generally speaking, venture capital isn't going to be the right avenue for you. I think my experience, this is my 3rd business. 2 were not successes. Hopefully this one will be, but I think all the money that we've saved customers by not using a traditional real estate, so all those millions of dollars in savings, over 60 million now, I think that's a success.
Wow.
Right? And that's the number one thing we track every single month. How is that growing? Because that's real value. That's really changing lives. So being an investment banker and doing that, I really got to understand the process and sort of the art of doing a deal. I've always been fascinated with that, especially the motivation and psychology behind all the players around the tables, right? The investment bank, the entrepreneurs, the management team, the private equity firm, even the attorneys, really understanding that. And then the technical underwriting, right? The financial modeling, the sort of pitch deck, the roadshow, all those sort of blocking and tacklings of a process, I got to understand early on the sell side, which is what they call the investment banking side. And then working in venture capital for almost 2 years was wonderful. That was another wonderful learning experience for me that I think that experience I bring uniquely from the founding team at Homie. We all have a very unique skill set, not a lot of overlap, which is wonderful because we can do and move fairly quickly. Venture capital is wonderful because it really raises the bar for you to run your business, right? There's accountability, there's experience, right? There's pattern recognition that I think you alone would have a hard time doing. And that's, I think, the beauty about venture capital. And that's really why venture capital was started, many decades ago, is entrepreneurs that started a business, had a wonderful exit, had this cash, and then started pooling funds and adding value in terms of operating experience, not just venture capital, right? So yeah, there's a lot of bad things in the market out there, a lot of press releases where this happens. I think control is an interesting, statement that you made there. I think if you're doing the right thing, you'll never lose control, right? And I'll define control in terms of like economic control or, sort of compliance control, like the sort of legal rights, right, that you have to operate a business. But if you're always working hard and your heart and your mind is in the right place, a venture capitalist isn't going to fire you for doing that right now. If it's above your competency, right, then sure. I think at some point in time, if somebody wants to replace me as a CFO of the Homie, it may mean something, right? It may mean the business is at a stage that's beyond my pay grade. Now, I think that I obviously want to take this to the moon, as they often say, which is fun, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're doing a bad job, right? It just means that someone can do it better, or the business at a different stage. And venture capital sometimes gets a bad rap, but man, let me tell you, I've always had a wonderful experience. We have wonderful investors on our cap table supporting the business, and they just help us flatten that learning curve and make it shorter and less steep. and that's worth a lot, you know? So that's my 2 cents on it.
Yeah, that's exactly, it's easy to retroactively look at things, and that's probably the route that we should have gone. But, when you're younger and, your early 20s, just the guise of everything surrounding Silicon Valley and these millions of dollars, you're just like, oh God, like everybody plans on building $100 million business or $1 billion business. No matter what you're doing, you could be selling stickers and you're like, this is the next $1 billion idea, but you always want to have control of it. So that was something that I was always interested in. And I know reading too, that you guys have gone through 2 different rounds of funding, correct?
Yeah, that's right. We closed a Series B in late Q4 of last year. So super grateful for that, especially, given the COVID-induced economic correction that's going on right now. Let me tell you, it couldn't come at a better time, and super grateful for our investors.
Yeah, congratulations. And I think too, with your guys' motto of saving people money, that seems like you guys are almost primed for this recession that's coming on, and eventually the housing market was probably going to follow it, probably in the later stages, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I mean, I have I studied economics during my undergrad, and it's one of those topics that I really enjoy. I'm not an economist by any means, right? But I do keep my finger on the pulse. I think that what's going on right now, we were all looking for a correction. It's heartbreaking that it was a health pandemic, really, that's causing this sort of correction. We'll see if it ends up turning into a full-on recession. By all means, it probably can, especially with employment rates being as high, 20, 25%. Las Vegas, I think, is 20% or so. But slowly but surely, our government officials and health officials are getting smarter and releasing and kind of slowing down. I think Nevada's done a wonderful job, and Governor Sisolak has been very thoughtful in the way. Low and slow is something that I've heard. And I think it's right? Even though sometimes, we get so antsy, we should be opening faster, but look at what's happening in Arizona and Florida and Texas. These are people's lives that they're responsible for, and they really take that to heart. And I think what's happening right now in the housing market, I mean, we had a record-breaking month in June. I mean, record-breaking. And I'm super grateful for every single one of our employees and homies at Homie for working so hard and putting our customer first and making sure that they know that we have to take health precautions. But if you think about what's going on in the housing market, supply is still so low. In Las Vegas, there's usually 6 months of supply under normal circumstances. There's probably 2 months of supply, right? So think about that, right? There's 2 months, there's 65% or so less supply. The other thing is interest rates are super low, right? You can get a 30-year fixed or something like that for 2.75. That's ridiculous. I'm going to start refinancing my mortgage payment right now, right? So you think about those fundamentals. People are still buying homes, right? There's still things that are happening. Even in the 2008 recession, when people lost a lot of jobs, nothing went to zero, right? I think the decline was like 50%. And I think the first couple of weeks of July compared to last year, transactions are only down middle single digits, right? 4.5%, 5% or so. When 2 months ago, when the pandemic started, it was like 65%, right? So we're closing that gap. Yeah. My prediction is by the end of July, we'll probably be ahead year over year in terms of transactional growth. And then there's going to be a lot of pent up demand. I think Q3 is going to be super strong. I think Q4 is going to be super strong too, because again, people have to buy and sell homes. It never goes to zero. So a little different perspective, I think that from you, but I keep a tight pulse, right? There's going to be moratoriums extended on foreclosures, which is wonderful. But at some point in time, right, that candlestick kind of runs out. And hopefully, I'm not really big on government intervention. I think this is a unique case that mandates for it. So hopefully we'll see in second or third, I can't remember, fourth stimulus package that's happening.
Yeah, it's going to be the second one that's probably going to be in the trillions. Just a little back note too. I'm a big Bitcoin bug, so I kind of stay on top of all that financial mumble jumble.
Yeah, wonderful.
But,
yeah. And then you have a vaccine, right? Moderna Pharmaceuticals is now entering its last stage of trials, and it's all looking really, really positive. I think that also changes the narrative in psychology.
Yeah, I really hope so. I did see an article that came out, I think this was yesterday in the news, that there could be around 300,000 evictions in Las Vegas if the enhanced unemployment doesn't get extended. And if something like that were so dramatic, how would that affect Homie?
Yeah, so I think there's a couple things, and I haven't, that's a very stark scenario.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an entrepreneur, so by definition, the glass is always full
Mm-hmm.
for me. So I don't think that'll actually happen. I think, so under normal circumstances, it takes about 90 days to foreclose, right? Sometimes
Okay.
120 days. You layer on another 90 days in moratorium, right? That's 6 months. That kind of went into effect. What was it, May? So, we still have some time and room to go. I think some people will sell probably before that ends up happening and move back into their parents. The adult children is what that's called. I was doing that. I did that in 2008, 2009. So I think some of that will go through. I think there's also some institutional investors, right, that'll go in and buy a lot of single family homes, and they'll just turn into rentals, right? The other thing that we're doing for Las Vegas is anyone that's been directly affected by COVID will completely waive your sell side fee with Homie. So that's $2,500, and we realize that every single dollar counts right now, right? So to all the listeners, just go to homie.com/Nevada. You'll see a ribbon there. Given COVID, we want to help every single person that's been affected. If there's anything that we can do, and this is something small, but hopefully impacts in a big way, we're willing and able to do that.
Yes, community outreach is very important, and I'm sure for you as well because you grew up out here, so it means even more.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I remember the feelings that I had in 2008 when I lost one home and then lost another one. And the only way I could describe it is holding sand in your hand, and you can feel like something is there, and then the sand is just falling through your fingers, right? And it just gets smaller, so you have less and less over time, but it's happening so fast. And those feelings of anxiety, that stress, that pain, the what's on the other side of this, that I'm never going to recover feeling, like I've been there, and I empathize. And if you think about the sort of definition of empathy is putting yourself in the same place of that person because you've actually lived it. That's real empathy, right? And I feel that. I mean, right now, my heart is it's cracking, man, because I've been there before and I know it royally sucks. So again, anything that Homie can do. I mean, if you think about the word Homie, it's like someone that has your back, right? If you're stranded in the middle of the night and you call that person will be there for you. That's what Homie stands for.
Dude, I just have to say I love the name because I call everyone a homie, whether it's the first time I've met you or not. So the fact that you even got that name is awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you. You're too kind. Yeah, anyone between the ages of 25 and 45, which is sort of most of our core demographic,
Mm-hmm.
we always use that, right? We grew up in living color. We always say that. It's a term of endearment, and we're lucky. And it also has this, home connotation, homey, comfy, related to the home. So we're lucky we got it. Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah. So in the short conversation so far, I could tell that you're a very sentimental person and very caring. And I know that message is translated through Homie. And let's just talk about Homie now specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of just describe, I guess, the founding and the whole idea behind it and what separates it from a traditional, just real estate brokers that we know.
Yeah, the founding team, and I would say every single employee actually at Homie, we've all had these situations in the real estate transaction where we felt like that wasn't simple. I paid a ton of money, right? Mine was a lot deeper. I lost my home, right? I was given advice that I should have never been given, right? And obviously I take full responsibility. And by the way, I paid the price literally for it, right? And that feeling for me, I mean, this is from a professional perspective, this is exactly why I'm on earth. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And again, all of our employees, they feel that, right? There's a mission for us. So if you think about that nucleus, that mission-driven objective that we have, it makes everything else seem very easy. All the decisions that we have to make, we just look up at that, and that guides us in the right way in taking care of the customer. So if you have that foundation, right, and you understand the economics of a real estate transaction, and let's unpack that for a little bit, it's almost 15%. And you're probably thinking, 15%, how is that possible? So it's about 6% to sell your home and buy a home, right? 6% to the real estate agents, traditional real estate agents. And then it's another 3.5 to 4% to get a loan, right? Points in the back, points in the front. You have no idea what you're doing, right? You just want your home. That's 10% already, right? And then you have title and escrow. home insurance, home warranty, and home inspection. That's another 500 basis points, right? So call it 15, I mean, heck, call it 12%. There's that much fat or commission or fees in a real estate transaction. Well, no wonder they're taking all your equity, right? And we just fundamentally believe that that's wrong, that those economics need to be shifted towards the consumer from the incumbents, right? And all these traditional real estate settlement service providers. So we're not just going after the real estate agent, right? We're going after everything because we think that that's the right experience. So Homie is different in terms of we use technology first, right? So our sort of S's of our value proposition is, one is savings. We fundamentally believe that that is the most important thing. And we lead with that, right? That is our superpower. We save you a bunch of money when you buy and sell a home, anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 on average. On the sell side, you get a real estate agent that has local experience, years and years of experience. On average, our real estate agents do more than 100 transactions a year. There's some real estate agents that will never do that in a lifetime, right? So if you want someone to go up to bat for you in the World Series, you want someone that's had some reps, or do you want a rookie, right? So our agents are wonderful. On the buy side, you have a real estate agent that knows the community. They usually cover zones, right? Areas and certain portions of Las Vegas. So they know that neighborhood really, really well. They can tell you the nuances. That's the beauty about real estate, which, by the way, technology will never remove that. And I've tried, right? Software is eating the world. But the whole transaction shouldn't be 100% automated, and neither can it be. That's something that we realize, right? But how can technology support the transaction? Again, on the sell side, you have a listing agent. You'll probably never see that person in person, but they're available for you. And they almost work 24/7. It's a nights and weekends business, right? And then we have a title and escrow business that has the closing experience. So it's all under one shop. And guess what? We're going to spend a little bit more time with you. So you know what title insurance is. So you know what escrow is. Homie loans, we have a $500 price guarantee. Apples to apples, compare the same mortgage. We're going to beat every single person. Every single mortgage provider. So quote me on that, $500 price guarantee. And then on the home insurance side, everyone that gets a loan needs home insurance, right? So why not give you these bundles of services so you can save a bunch of money, right? And in terms of customer service, our NPS score is anywhere from 70 to 100, depending on the region and buy side and sell side. To give you some context, Nordstrom, which is, revered for customer service, they're at a 70, right? And 70 is world-class service. But it's taken us a lot of hard work and a lot of smart people at Homie putting the whole pieces to the puzzle together. So if you think about how we're different than other real estate brokers on the traditional side, it's around savings, simplicity, software, and then savings, right? Like that's the big thing. We want to save you. And then our other S is social impact. We are all in on the communities where we do business in. It's a big part of our DNA. We think it's a moral responsibility. As you know, when you're an entrepreneur and have a pretty, growing business and it's getting larger, that's a platform, right? That is a privilege, and we should use that platform to help as many people as we can. And that's what Homie's about.
Wow, I love that message. I do want to note too that customer service is always translated down. It's from the top down. So, that's echoed through you guys. So that's a great representation. And then as far as the process to buying a home, I personally, I've never bought a home, but I've always been kind of confused because it seemed a lot of these, like you're saying, escrow, and I never even knew there was a listing agent. I thought it was just like one agent kind of did everything at one time. So it seems like you guys are assisting with that. And like you said, trimming the fat. And also too, something I've noticed is that now with technology, most people just go on something like Zillow or a bunch of other listings, and then you kind of shoot them off of like, these are the 5 houses that I want. So I think that percentage may not translate over to what is actually provided.
Yeah, I think you're right. Times have changed, right? If you think about the biggest industries to get disrupted, you think about transportation, you think about the hotel industry, obviously synonymous with that would be Airbnb and, Uber and Lyft, right? There's changes coming, right? And real estate is probably the last sort of frontier that hasn't been disrupted. And it's almost a $700 billion industry a year as we define all these other services put together. And it's time for change, right? And technology, as you mentioned, the home buyer, the majority, north of 86% or so, start the process online with the mobile app. Hopefully they're downloading the Homie app, right? Every single listing is on there. You click a button, you can take a tour within 2 hours or so, sometimes even sooner, depending on location. and obviously the other side, the listing agent that should give us access. But we can make it happen, and that, as Gen X and Gen Y and others, we want it now, right? I mean, how many times are you door dashing a week, right? You want to see where everything is in the process. We're building more and more technology, which makes the experience a lot more relatable. And again, simple, being super transparent.
Yeah, I downloaded the app. I really liked the UX behind it. It's really simplistic, very easy. And right when I download it, it shows the most expensive houses first, which I kind of love because we're all browsers, we're all window shoppers. Just like we all grew up on MTV Cribs and
That's
watched
right.
everything to dream from the top just to see what's down there. But
oh man, it's super fun, right? I do that all the time. Everyone does that, right? I'm always on the Homie app and just even getting ideas, right? Even if there's one bedroom and maybe I can paint it or do something like that, but it's really, really fun. And then obviously you can throw some filters, and then our product team is just amazing. We just onboarded our new chief product officer who was at Redfin for 4 years, right? Think about all the pattern recognition, the mistakes that he's made already in his career. That is going to be one of the biggest catalysts for our product in 2020 and 2021, and for years to come, obviously.
Yeah, it's gonna take a little bit of time. So once you guys enter a city, are you guys there permanently forever, or do you kind of transgress and move down to place afterwards?
No, I mean, we're going to be there for a very, very long time, right? Our goal is to be the number one brokerage office in that geo, right? And it takes years. It takes some time, right? We're the number one brokerage office in the state of Utah, no matter how you cut the data, close transactions, sell side, listings, et cetera. But it took some time, right? It took almost 2 years for us to get there. And we think it's going to happen maybe hopefully sooner in Las Vegas. Hopefully my roots there resonate with people and they'll give us a shot, allow us the opportunity to earn their business. But we're there for the long run, right? I think we have 25 employees, full-time employees right now. If you look at the mortgage title, we look at the real estate side, I have a general manager that's there, an operations person, a head of real estate, our designated broker. If you couple all those people together, it's about 25 people. So a lot of startup costs, right, to start the business. And that means that every customer that comes in is going to have a wonderful, wonderful real estate experience.
I really like the full service one-stop shop. Something I've noticed in Vegas, and it's a growing joke, is the next stage of an evolution of an industry worker on the Strip is always to real estate, whether it's a bartender, a busser, or a server. So now I feel like I have maybe 5% of my friends who are now all real estate agents, and always made me wonder, like, why is this necessary at all? Like, it's confusing at times.
Yeah, I can spend an hour talking about that, and I could see my PR people just saying, "Don't go down this route." Right? I have a huge amount of passion for this topic specifically. There's no barrier to entry, right? And I think because there's no barrier to entry, meaning that you can have your real estate license in about 14 days time,
Wow.
and then be responsible for one of the most expensive, meaningful, life-changing decisions for someone, and then get 3% or 6%. I don't think that is equitable, right? To say it kindly. And I think that it's what ends up happening, right? And you if you're going to join a profession, you got to do it full time, right? The average real estate agent across the U.S. does 3 transactions a year. The average.
Wow.
Right? And there's a problem with that. There's a reason why there's so many fees, right? Because the hit rates are so low. The real estate transaction does take some time, right? You have to understand your buyer if you're helping someone buy a home, and just understand what their situation is and create an experience for them. Our real estate agents don't get a commission. They get a flat bonus, right? So you can look at a $2 million home or a $100,000 condo. We're going to put you wherever you should be fit, what you can afford, because our compensation is aligned with the success of your transaction and what you want. We're not going to steer you towards that, the top of the range where you can afford, because that's an injustice. We want you to come back and refi with us. We want you to come back and buy an investment property with us, right? We want you to come back and buy your 6-bedroom house when you're going from 3 kids to 4 kids, right? And sell that one, right? We want to create a relationship, a partnership for a very, very long time. And I just don't think you can do that when you're just doing it part-time. Right. And by the way, there's a lot of wonderful agents, full-time and part-time.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think fundamentally that system, the brokerage system, the franchise system, right? If you kind of peel back that onion It goes back to all those things, right? 1099 versus W-2. Every real estate agent at Homie is a W-2 employee, right? They have stock options in the business, by the way. They have health insurance, and they're a W-2 employee. That is taking care of the Homie hygiene, right? What is the most fundamental thing that our employees need? And we felt like taking care of them first will make everything else kind of come into play.
Yep. The strong core, strong foundation is essential to any success. Two, also, this is any industry, when you start seeing saturation is when you start seeing corners being cut or numbers being fluffed a little bit, because like you were saying, everyone has to try to get their penny out of it and squeeze every last cent out of it. So that's something that's very noble. And in terms of the real estate agents, if they aren't making, let's say, the 3%, 6%, are they making it back up in volume working for Homie? Is that
Right.
kind of, and the underlying like medical and things like that?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So the average real estate agent makes about 44,000 a year. Our average agent makes about 2x that.
Wow.
Right. So they're professionals. This is all they do. And the other thing is there's a lot of value in specialization. So our listing agents only work on sell side transactions. They don't work on buy side transactions. Our buyer agents only work on buy side transactions. So they understand that like the back of their hands. And that's a lot of value that they bring to the table for the customer, right? For our customers and clients. So if you think about that, the volume that they're doing, and the other piece too, when you're a real estate agent, you got to go knock doors. You got to go find your leads. You got to go bug your friends and family, right? And they put you in a very awkward position. I always hear, I used an agent and then I used another agent. And the first agent, he doesn't even talk to me anymore. He like unfriended me on social media. Right? They take it so personally. And I think with Homie, although we have human beings, obviously, professional real estate agents, you're also doing business with a brand, right? A brand that is meaningful. You're not just transacting with a franchise, and real estate agents that just do it part-time, right? We want to make sure that we have a good partnership, that we just hold your hand, even digitally, right, with the app all the way through the transaction.
Yeah. So it's about integration, customer acquisition, relationship building. And to something that you noticed or that you said was that there's different real estate agents for selling and buying. Is that because there's some sort of different process behind the works in that, or is it just like different sales tactics?
I think it's a little bit of both. The other piece is the misaligned incentives, right? The fact, so back before 2008, if I remember correctly, a real estate agent can represent the sell side, the buy side, and the mortgage transaction in the same house transaction, right? That's a lot of misaligned incentives, right? You can't do the mortgage piece and the real estate piece anymore, which is great. I think that's smart. But a real estate agent can still represent both sides of the transaction. So in our opinion, how can that real estate agent provide fiduciary duty and responsibility to both sides, right? Do you go high on this side and high on that side, or do you go low on this side, high on the other? It really conflicts things, right? So that misaligned incentive, we just completely did away with. So then we have real estate agents only work on the sell side and then only work on the buy side, right? And then they become really good. It's like a pitcher, right? All they do is pitch. And that's our thesis there, is that if we had some specialization, right, on the administrative side, when you're selling your home, so if you go to homie.com/sell, you go through our listing process, our software does all that for you instead of the real estate agent. But there's also a listing coordinator, right? That's a human being that can just help you troubleshoot some stuff, or if you need some support or help. They're customer support people, if you will, and they're wonderful at what they do. And then you have a pricing specialist, someone that only helps price homes, right? So if you think about that, then you have a real estate agent that gets that report, understands that, they have experience there too, but then they can focus on the blocking and tackling, the sort of nucleus or the meat of that sell side real estate transaction, and provide a wonderful experience, and get a lot of those repetitions. And then the same concept on the buy side, right? All this do is buy side. They know how to be, they know how to use that as leverage as they're negotiating, or even through the search, right? Like, oh, you don't actually want this, you want this, because from what you're telling me, this is what I'm garnering.
Interesting. How I picture that is like, it's almost like a football team, right? You guys are the coaches in the front office, and then you have your buyers and your sellers and the offensive line, and you stick to quarterback, you stick to this position, and you're not doing anything else because that is you from now on.
That's right. That's a great analogy. I'm big on sports analogies, so I'm gonna use that one. I'm gonna steal that one from
The
you.
football team. Yeah, you'd be the front office. So
Yeah.
what other services do you guys offer outside of buying, selling? I know you guys have been doing vertically integrating.
Yeah. So our mortgage business, which is Homie Loans, we can help you refi. We can help you get a purchase loan. You do title and escrow, right? Which is title insurance and the closing experience. The money is transferring from certain providers to others. Home insurance, right? So every person that has a mortgage on their business, whether their home, has to get insurance, right? P&C insurance, property and casualty home insurance. We have that too through Homie Insurance. Excuse me. And then at some point in time soon, we'll do home warranty. And then we just launched our Homie Home Services Marketplace. So once you own your home, Homie wants to make it so easy for you to discover, schedule, and pay for home services that you need, like lawn care or window cleaning or carpet cleaning. Right now, It's just everyone wants this vetted person that they know they can trust and that they're reliable, right? And they're well groomed, especially housewives, right? Like my wife, she's like, I'm going to have a contractor come over to fix the washer machine. Can you please be here? I'm like, well, why do I need to be there? Oh, last time a guy came in, I felt really uncomfortable, right? So we want to make that sort of experience a lot better. And if you think about the tenure of home ownership, it's 6-7 years. The real estate transaction is just such a small piece, right? It's maybe 65, 70 days. But the home ownership piece, and again, going back to our mission, making home ownership accessible, easy, and affordable to all, we want to provide Costco-like deals, right? You're going to use them anyways, right? So why not go to the Homie trusted partners to have all these other services? And what that'll do is extend lifetime, right? That'll give us an opportunity to continue communication with our customers and make sure that they're really taken care of for the long run, right? And all those services, solar, right? Get a Homie exclusive deal on solar, whether it's utilities, all these other things that, again, you need during your home ownership experience. We want to make that super easy for you.
Wow, literally the lifelong homie.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
It's such a perfect name. So for these home services, do you guys build them out internally or do you partner with some external company?
Yeah, we're going to partner. Maybe at some point in time, it makes sense. Home automation is one that we continue to talk about. There's a couple cool brands out there we may acquire, we may partner, we may merger. But I think at the beginning, we want to learn, right? We're not going to, say that we're going to do this really, really well. We want to take the best partners, right? We want to use them ourselves and go through that experience and then make sure that we can pull in ratings and reviews and all these things to make it really easy to just push a couple buttons. Think about the buy side experience where you have the Homie app and your Homie agent, and your Homie agent says, hey, don't worry about this kitchen. Why don't you whip out your app and then take some pictures of the kitchen? You continue, going through the home tour, and then an hour later you get a bid from a contractor that says it's going to cost you $10,200. You're going to get a 10% discount because you're using Homie. We can be there in 2 days after you close a transaction, right? All that seamless experience. So by the time you move, this kitchen is already remodeled for you, right? Things like that allowing the product and other partners to really flex their superpower to create just a wonderful world-class real estate experience.
That is a great experience. That's one of the reasons why I still rent in apartments, is because they take care of everything. It's just a one-stop shop. So you don't have to deal out with all these different companies for different jobs.
Yeah. Let us be your super, right?
Yes.
We want the opportunity to earn that business too.
Also thinking out loud here. I actually had somebody on the show previously. He's a good friend. He founded his own solar company out here. So if you need that local solar connection,
yeah, man, hook it up. Email's super easy. Mike P@homie.com.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Steven, if you're listening, I got you, man.
Wonderful.
Yeah. There's so many different people that I come across. So as long as your guys' main mission is to focus local, which I guess would make it the homie experience, because
absolutely.
Now with how the world is turning out, people are starting to turn away from those main chain brands, and everything is really returning to localism. That's kind of the thesis that I've been harping on for the past few months that I started this podcast.
I think if you think about real estate, it's local, right? It's hyper local, some would say. And I think that's really important, right? And I think that's where, again, technology will eat up a large portion of the real estate transaction over time. We're going to trailblaze that experience. But there's certain things that you need a contractor that understands what type of roof shingles or tile you need because you live in Las Vegas, right? We would be doing our customers an injustice if we got a sort of national, manufacturer or provider that didn't know the nuances of the summer heat in Las Vegas, right? The wear and tear,
Oh, man.
the dust, right? All that stuff. You need to be local. And I think that's one of the beauties about our platform is we have a handful of providers that do provide, services through the geographies that we do business in now. But most of those will always be local.
Smart. So there's been one big question while you've been telling me everything. It's like a huge light bulb is how has nobody done this before? You would think with, the tech revolution being the last 15 years that somebody would have gone down this path already. Why hasn't anyone done it? And if they has, is there any competitors?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. And, a lot of investors over the sort of handful of years that Homie's been around, when I was thinking about the experience that I had and I said, technology should fix this. What if we used attorneys instead of real estate agents? And we did at some point in time. You start thinking about like the landscape, right? And you look at all kinds of providers, right? You think about discount brokers and 1%ers. A lot of them are not using real estate technology, right? Even the real estate technology that's already affordable to them, they just don't know. There's many reasons why, right? Like they're making a lot of money, so why change something that's why don't fix it if it ain't broke, right? And I think that sometimes these companies they get really comfortable, right? And then you see transformation coming, and then the utility of technology putting in the hands of the consumers and real estate agents, right? There's if it wasn't for technology, there's no way that we would be doing over 100 transactions per year per agent. Impossible, right? It just wouldn't, even with a big team. You just can't do it, right? But there's certainly a lot of flavors of competitors, right? There's these home buyers and home flippers that offer you, maybe 90 cents on the dollar. Maybe you get a full asking price, but then they're going to take 12 to 15% of the price of the home as a fee, which is 50, 60, 70% of your equity. And sometimes people don't even recognize that until it's too late, right? The transaction, you're already at the signing table and you look at those closing documents, you say, oh man, what have I done? Right? There's other discount brokers they're doing flat fee, but they use no technology, right? There's some that are still using fax machines, right? And they just throw you on the MLS and then allow you to do everything else. But there's a handful of other competitors, I think, in this space, the sort of tech-enabled broker. We're definitely best in class, and we've been privileged enough to be called that, not by ourselves. We're not touting our own horn here, but there's other professionals and industry experts. And over time, there'll be more, right? There'll be some competitors. Since real estate is local and regional, there's some players that have popped up. We're going to focus on the customer. This is a marathon for us, right? We're not going to sprint to the finish line and then run out of gas. We're going to be slow and methodical. We're going to invest deeply in the communities we do business with, starting with the social impact, one of our sort of S's. And then if we do good, we'll do well.
I think you guys are well on your way, man. It's like, it almost makes me want to buy a house right now.
Do it, man. I know a company that can help you.
Right. Yeah. I got a little bit. I just moved into the art district, so I'm feeling the vibes out here for a little bit, but definitely down the road is somewhere I do want. I was thinking more towards, next year. Regardless, we'll have to see what happens with the housing market and, like we said, the stimulus packages and everything. But, I wish everyone the best of luck going forward. And so my next question is, where is Homie headed now in the state of, the macroeconomics? Do you have any plans to expand outside of Vegas? Is Vegas your full focus, as well as Phoenix and Utah?
Yeah. We're all in on Las Vegas, right? And we have a solid team. I'm so proud of the team that we built down there. We're going to launch Boise next month. We're going to launch Denver next month. I think there's an opportunity for us to be really selective on where we decide. And we have some wonderful, talented executives on the team now that can help us sort of update this launch playbook and expansion playbook, so we get better and smarter and more capital efficient every time we launch a new market. This health COVID crisis is it's painful, but transactions never go to zero, right? For many, many circumstances and reasons, people have to buy and sell homes. right? And we have an opportunity to hand select the ones that we want to go to, and then hyper focus on being successful. And again, being a marathon, we have no pressure from our investors or outside economic forces or whatever to like launch super fast and run out of money. That's not what we're worried about. We're worried about being very thoughtful and selective of where we launch next and making sure we provide a world-class real estate experience.
Yeah, starting on the best coast, west coast, best coast.
That's
right.
right.
It's probably the fastest moving industry. I know Vegas was like the number one or number two cities with the fastest growth as far as people moving into it. And there's a lot of capital, like one of your seeds is being allocated out here now because all the Cali people are selling their small shack for $500K.
That's right.
And buying a little bit bigger of a house.
Yeah, that's right. I heard there's people from California are moving to Las Vegas, Salt Lake, Phoenix, and Boise, right? And Denver, those sort of five, which is great, right? I love California. I was a little kid when I was there. I just think California is so expensive, right? Taxes are super high. The traffic, I can't do it. The smog, I can't do it. I just can't do it. You know what I mean? So at some point in time, it would be a pleasure to expand to California. But again, we're being super selective on where we decide to go next.
That's smart. And I mean, very selective. Utah, that was your first spot and you became the number one listing, you said in 18 months, correct?
Yeah, 18 months. Became the number one listing broker in the state.
Why do you think Utah connected so fast with you guys? Do you think there is a specific reason?
I think there's a couple of reasons. One, it's our home base, right? The founding team, the executive team, we all live here. We've been here for a long time. Two, we've invested in businesses and entrepreneurs and companies here. Three, we've started companies here, right? So if you think about all of that, that's a big reason why, right? And I think translating that, if we would have started in Las Vegas and done the same thing, right? Invested in businesses there, started businesses there, I think it would have been the same, right? Or would be the same. I hope to grow faster, right? We take all the learnings from Phoenix, all learnings from Salt Lake, and then apply them to Las Vegas. And that's exactly what's happening now. Exactly. I think through the first 5 months, we're 4x larger in revenue in Las Vegas than we were in Utah. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, you guys, from what you've said, sounds very consistent as far as your motto, your mantra, personality, and your actions. So there's no doubt that I won't see you guys not succeed. And on the opposite side of success, was there ever a time throughout the Homie process that you maybe, just flipping the rock and starting something new, or there like any big hurdles that you had to overcome along the way?
How much time do you have? And there's been, in terms of starting something else, I can't say one time I've ever thought of that. It doesn't come to my mind. I would probably say the same thing for my co-founders and my executive team. This is a mission, right? It's an obligation. We have to do this. Now, has it been easy? Heck no. Oh man, we ran out of money once almost. I mean, we were almost out of money, and that was painful. But what that taught us is we got to be capital efficient. We have to focus on what matters, right? When you raise venture capital, right, you're expected to go fast, and it raises the bar, right? And then when you're almost out of cash, you're like, oh my heck, right? What's going to happen now? But it allows you to focus, right? And you got to lean on your team. You can never do this by yourself, right? And I'm so humbled and I just feel so lucky to be the position that we're in and have the team that we have. Super talented, humble individuals, hardworking people. And it's never been easy, right? I mean, when you're going up against one of the most entrenched incumbents, the real estate industry, right? My house has been egged twice, right? But being a kid in South Central LA, I mean, I would prefer an egging over a drive-by any day of the week.
It's tough skin.
It's Utah. But you're winning when you focus on the customer, right? When you don't retaliate, right? When you don't go spending your time and money on like fighting the bad guy, focus on your mission, right? Focus on the reason why you're doing what you're doing. And I'll share a short little story. There's a family in Utah County that had some issues, problems conceiving a child. They used Homie. They saved $24,000. They took that money. I think for the first time ever, I'm not going to cry when I share this. They took that money and invested in vitro and had a baby.
Wow.
We have a picture of that baby in a Homie onesie. That's why we wake up every single day, even when things aren't tough, right? When COVID happened, I didn't sleep for 4 weeks. I mean, it was long, long hours, making sure that our customers are safe and healthy, making sure that our employees are safe and healthy, right? That we don't lose anyone, that we don't have to fire anyone, that we look at the business and say, where should we be investing? Where should we be pulling back, right? When those times come and they're tough and they'll always be there, you wake up and you say, well, why are we doing this, right? You think about that family, you think about what we did there. Oh man, it makes everything else dust, right? Everything, you just kind of realize on what matters, right? But man, there's been a handful of things and challenges, but if you have a good support system, my wife and my kids are just wonderful. She's an extension of me. She's a co-founder in this business just as much as I am. Same thing with the spouses of my partners here. You got to do it as a team, right? You can't be greedy. You can't think you're going to get it done all by yourself. You just can't operate that way.
Wow, that story was moving. It gave me chills. That's
man.
Yeah, there's no other better way I could put it. It's just that there's something I always say is that when you build something new, when you're an entrepreneur, whether it's content, a business or whatever, if you build it with passion, the money will always find its way afterwards, rather than if you build it with a pure monetary mindset first, people will recognize the corners that you cut through, and that'll turn people away immediately. And just to see the nobility of, the extra money that people save going towards something that's even more life-changing than having a house.
I mean, exactly.
Beautiful.
That is, yeah. Long time ago, someone told me, Mike, you will do well by doing good. So do good. And that just changed my perspective on life.
Yes, good you are doing. I think this is a great segment towards the end. I always ask 2 common questions to everybody before we go. The first question is, the year is 2030. What does the ecosystem of Homie look like?
We're selling real estate on Mars.
Yes. That is the best answer anyone could ever give.
We're the #1 brokerage in the universe.
I love it. All right. I'm a big space bug, so that's definitely going to be a soundbite. And last question is, what does Las Vegas mean to you?
Everything, man. The fighting spirit of Las Vegas, man. 2011, that recession, it hurt us. We came back stronger, right, than ever. 2008, 2009, it freaking crushed us, right? One would argue that Las Vegas was an epicenter of the recession for 2008, 2009. Came back stronger, redefined ourselves, right? COVID ain't gonna be different, man. We're gonna be stronger for it. We're gonna be smarter for it. We're gonna be healthier for it. It means everything, man.
It is. It's home. It's life. It's everything. Vegas always goes through these phases of revolutionary terms, and they always find different ways to differentiate ourselves from the rest of the world.
That's right.
All right, Mike, this was awesome. How can everyone get connected with you, Homie, or if they're a real estate agent and want to potentially house themselves under the Homie brand?
Yeah. So that's super easy. Homie.com/Nevada. My email is super easy. If there's any entrepreneurs out there that I can help or share some story, if there's any people that need some help buying or selling a home, my email is super easy, MikeP@Homie.com.
Awesome, Mike. Thank you so much for this conversation. You taught me a ton, and this is a disruptive technology that I think will do a lot of good for Vegas.
Thank you. This is, you've been super kind with your words, and I really appreciate the opportunity to be here.
I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Always for my locals. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll catch you next time.